if you will, to use as a general guideline.
And we know that Commissioner Segura will not be joining us till 11. Oh,
Yes.
Commissioner Vento just joined us. So it looks like we could begin roll call, Twyla.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. It is 10:03, and today is December 21st, 2020, and you are joining the second remote meeting of the Los Angeles County Citizens Redistricting Commission. I will begin this morning by taking the roll. Commissioners, please unmute your mic when your name is called to respond. Commissioner Franklin.
Present.
Commissioner Holtzman.
Here.
Commissioner Maeda.
Present.
Commissioner Obregon. Commissioner Segura. Commissioner Soto.
Present.
Commissioner Stetcher.
Here.
Commissioner Venta.
Here.
Thank you. I will now turn the agenda over to Gayla for approval of the minutes.
Well, and before we go into that, I do want to make a public announcement. So for those of you who have not met me, I'm Gayla Craig-Hartso. I'm the Executive Director for the CRC. Holly Watley, you'll see on the screen, is our independent legal counsel. This meeting will be posted at the Los Angeles County Commission publication site. The meeting is also being streamed live on YouTube. You'll see the link there. During the meeting, if you need any technical assistance, either the panelists, meaning the commissioners, or the participants, you can certainly use the Q&A button, and you'll receive support from Ty Lee, whom I'll be introducing next. Other public comment submissions can always go through comserve@boslacounty.gov. And I do want to introduce the co-host of the meeting today, who will be our technical expert on the webinar logistics, and we'll be working on this project as we go forward. Ty Lee, you'll see him on the screen. He is a PhD candidate in public policy and management at USC's Price School of Public Policy. He has a strong background in GIS information system and technology, including the ArcMap and ArcGIS Pro, which is the underlying platform that the county will be using for redistricting. In addition to his statistical background in multivariate statistics and data collection strategies, his dissertation topic is on investigating disparities and equitable barriers to citizenship and integration of immigrants into our society. He's worked on a lot of other collaborative projects, and I'm pleased that Ty could help support us in this process. So welcome, Ty. So now I do want to move to the minutes. The minutes have been sent out prior to the meeting for review. Are there any comments on the minutes themselves?
Yes.
I see a hand from Commissioner Holtzman.
Thank you. I have a few comments on the minutes. Starting at the very top. I see they're labeled statement of proceedings. Perhaps you can answer why it's not just minutes.
Twyla, since we're using the county format, can I ask you to respond to that question?
Yes, a statement of proceedings it's the same that they use for the board. So for our commissions, we just follow the same process that the board used, and they're called proceedings, statement of the proceedings.
So perhaps we should say statement of proceedings in the agenda instead of minutes, so there's no confusion.
I think that's something that we can discuss I can discuss with Holly and Gayla on moving forward, the preference of the commission.
Okay, so now on item 2, it says commissioners introduce themselves and received welcoming comments from the public. I think it would be good to have in the minutes or statement of proceedings or whatever, a list of the names of and affiliations of the people who made comments. So that's one comment I have on the minutes. And then under number 3, well, it says Commission Holtzman. That should obviously say Commissioner Holtzman on the beginning of the third paragraph on number 3. Also, where it says commissioners considered several options for evaluating the 52 individuals. I don't know, maybe we should say that that was for between then and today. Where it says we agreed on criteria. I think perhaps they might be able to, they might vary in the future if we don't finish. Mainly under the third bullet point there, I think it is not good to call the criteria the 4 state criteria regarding the candidate's overall analytical skills, because turns out, as I'll probably explain later, I don't think those are the criteria to be used at this stage. But I think it would be fair for purposes of the minutes to say commissioners adopted a holistic approach that integrates, strike the word the, and just say 4 and strike the word state criteria, and then insert a dash or a colon, and then strike regarding the candidates overall, and just say analytical skills relevant to redistricting voting rights, comma, state and federal legal requirements, comma, impartiality, comma, and appreciation of LA County's diverse demographics. Just to be precise on that one. And then the next bullet point, the 4th bullet point, second line at the end, that last word should be tool instead of took. And because I don't think we are finishing all of our evaluations or have finished all of our evaluations, I would delete the word from in the 5th bullet point, I would delete the word there and just say the commissioners agreed to complete evaluations, not to suggest that we're all done.
May
and
I
then-
suggest we add the word initial evaluations just for greater clarity, Commissioner?
Initial is fine. Initial would be fine. And also with the attachments, the election code attachment is basically just a link. Perhaps we could send that out as a PDF in case the elections code changes. And actually that's elections code, come to think of it, should be plural. Perhaps we could send that out as a PDF next time. And also the last one, party apportionment, that was a spreadsheet from me. So maybe we can label it as my spreadsheet, party apportionment suggested by Commissioner Holtzman. All right, so under, let's see, the last page, matters not posted. There were matters raised by commissioners. I think I raised at least one, but they're not listed in the statement of proceedings, the minutes. And then also under number 5, where it says attachments, public comment correspondence. What's there is just that one letter from a bunch of organizations. I think we should have in our minutes a list of the oral commenters. If you have speaker cards, you could just paste in the speaker cards. That's how I've seen it done before. So, all right, those are my suggestions for modifying the minutes, statements of proceedings, whatever you call them.
So Commissioner Holtzman, we can add to the miscellaneous, the item you had asked, which we're going to defer probably to January when we have all 14. And that is an update on the technology and software that we'll be using. That was the only matters not posted. And
Okay.
it was being deferred to January when we had all 14, but I can add it to the minutes.
Thank you.
Comments, reactions? I see Commissioner Obregon. I see a wave of support.
Yes, hi.
We did a roll call. So Twyla, could we add to the roll call that Commissioner Obregon is now part of our meeting?
Yes, I will.
Did anybody want to make a motion, and we'll do a roll call on the acceptance of the minutes given pending those modifications being made. And then we'll resubmit.
Make a
it.
motion to make the modifications.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, that seems fair.
I see Brian's hand
Second.
goes up. We have an official motion from Brian. Can I have you verbally say you second the motion?
I second the motion.
Twyla, let's do a roll call.
Okay. So we have Commissioner Franklin. How do you vote? You're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Holtzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Maeda,
Yes.
Commissioner Obregon,
Yes. Oh, yes. I have unmute.
Yeah,
You are
you're-
unmuted. You're fine.
we have your vote. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Soto,
Yes.
Commissioner Stetcher,
Yes.
and Commissioner Venta.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. We will
Thank
make
you.
those revisions. We'll also work out going forward when you have all 14 commissioners, whether or not you prefer statement of proceedings or minutes. Obviously, we're flexible on that. In terms of the names and affiliations of who made comments, you will have, all of these meetings will be not only public, but recorded. And in the recording of the first meeting is a list in the recording in the chat box of all the people who requested to speak. So again, we'll talk about that as we go forward in terms of the format that the full commission of 14 members would need. Again, Commissioner Holtzman, thank you for your thorough review of the minutes.
You're welcome.
Okay. So again, welcome the 8 commissioners. So we're now going to move on to really the heart of today's meeting, which is the evaluation of the applicants. For the public, I do want to go over just a couple of contexts in case some had not attended the first meeting. This body is not officially constituted. The December meetings are really the 8 commissioners who were randomly selected, and their primary role is to select the 6 remaining commissioners. The completion date for that is December 31st of this year. The reason it's not formally constituted is we need 9 members to have a quorum and 9 members to vote. Come January, when we have all 14 members, the group will be officially constituted. There will be an oath of office, and then the commissioners will collectively, all 14, go through a process of being trained in the Brown Act, election codes, the RC development of the bylaws that you'll abide by, the selection of your own chair and vice chair, at which point I will step back from facilitating these meetings. And there's a whole list of things to be accomplished in January that I'll go over when we review the schedule.
Yes.
Again, sorry, question? Okay. I again want to reinforce, and we'll do this with all 14 commissioners. I think it's very important that we establish some core values. I am proposing for the running of these meetings in December, and we'll talk about this more with all 14 commissioners, that we hold a commitment to transparency, integrity, objectivity, and public engagement. Okay, so now the heart. I'm going to run through the purpose of the various evaluations. I'm going to go through an update in terms of your input you gave on the Los Angeles demographics. I then will be sharing with you, based on your initial evaluations, the top candidates for your review. Once I go through that information, you get points of clarification, and you are then going to be in a position that you can receive public comment. Then after you receive the public comment, we will then have you folks discuss, based on what you've heard to date, what your next steps are going to be, and whether or not there'll be formal motions to proceed or not. And then we'll be going through the schedule as part of this whole thing. Okay. So again, for the public, just as a reminder, this is based on a new Senate bill to create an independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to basically develop the new districts for the supervisorial boundaries. Each of these 5 districts must be reasonably equal, geographically contiguous, and take into consideration various factors in terms of boundaries. And you'll see it ranges from geography to compactness, communities of interest, and natural geographic boundaries, as I already mentioned. And the other key thing in this whole process is to be sure that these boundaries represent the county's population, so that the county population can truly feel they have a voice in electing the representative of their choice. Again, as a quick overview, the first meeting was really a kickoff. We were sort of using a consensus approach because, again, you're not an official commission yet. You were given an overview of the applications. You agreed on a way to initially begin to evaluate. You all had homework to read the applications and to evaluate them. Today's meeting, you're going to see the analysis, hear public comments, begin to identify the best candidates, and you may or may not reach agreement on the 6 commissioners. If you do reach agreement, that is fine. If you do not, we have developed plans for potentially a 3rd meeting and even potentially the benefits of having interviews. Okay, so again, it's open-ended regarding the 3rd meeting. Okay, the application evaluation process itself. Before I go into it, something that I'd like you to hear from the independent legal counsel, and this gets into your bylaws, is whether or not you should consider more than 6 candidates to be commissioners. There may be some advantage of adding 2 or 3 alternates who could serve in the event of the need for additional backup. So I'm going to turn it over to Holly to walk through the pros and cons of considering alternates as well. You are on mute, Holly.
It's not a meeting until somebody's told they're on mute. But thank you. Just going through the consideration of alternates, there is no specific provision in the statute regarding alternates, but we do believe it is within the discretion of the commission to provide for alternates, and that would be something that the full commission would need to weigh in on. And some of the things I would highlight for the full commission as well, but to preview those now, is certainly because we have a quorum requirement of 9, and also because it takes 9 affirmative votes to take any official action, it would be good to have alternates available. So, for example, if there was a permanent vacancy due to an unexpected health or family emergency, you would quickly already have some folks available to step in to fill that vacancy and not lose any of your work time on the meat of your tasks. There are going to be alternative ways to set up your alternates. There are obviously, you can have alternates that are expected to attend all meetings and can participate, but when it comes to the vote, they do not vote. There's pros and cons to that approach. You can have it set up so that the alternates actually are not expected to attend meetings, and only when you have a permanent vacancy do they participate, or only when they're called up for a known absence at a particular meeting. Those are all choices that the fully constituted commission can make, and we can build into the bylaws. But we wanted to flag that for you now, so that as you're looking at candidates after you have chosen the 6, and keeping in mind you may want to have identify a few candidates to be alternates for the full commission to consider. And unless anybody has any questions, I'll turn that back over to Gayla.
Are there any questions for independent legal counsel? Dave, I see Commissioner Holtzman's hand is up.
If we do have alternates, and I'm not really thrilled with the idea, wouldn't they have to attend every meeting to be up to speed on everything? And would we have to restart our deliberations, so to speak, if we're replacing a commissioner with an alternate?
There's an advantage. It would not be treated like, let's say, an alternate juror. You know, when an alternate juror gets called into the jury room, deliberations do have to start all over again. It would not be like that. Otherwise, it would set the work of the commission back. There are pros to having the commissioners attend. If the commission does decide to have alternates, the advantage of expecting the alternates to attend the meetings is so that they are fully up to speed and have heard all of the public comment and all of the presentations and deliberations, so that they are called on to step in either permanently or perhaps only when there is a vacancy at a single meeting that is known. They just slot right in and they have the background. And so that is one of the considerations that the commission, I think, should talk about when it considers whether to have alternates, and if so, how to set it up and what the expectations are.
Commissioner Franklin.
Yes, I think having alternates is an excellent idea. I would feel comfortable in having alternates because life happens. You never know. And because of the urgency and the importance of this commission and the timeliness of having to get the work done, we need to be able to proceed if something, in the case, if something does happen.
Commissioner Stetcher.
I'm a little hesitant, but the main thing that bothers me is a continuously changing membership. So if someone is permanently unable to serve, replacing that person with an alternate seems to me to make sense. But bringing in an alternate 1 week and then dropping them out the next month and bringing them in the 4th month doesn't seem to me to be the right way to approach it.
So Commissioner Stetcher, if I may, I think when Holly and I were discussing it, it was more in the event that a commissioner became incapacitated. We are in the midst of a pandemic. You know, as Commissioner Franklin pointed out, things happen. As executive director, I want to assure you, whether or not you decide they should attend meetings or whatever approach you want to use, that it would be my responsibility to bring them up to speed, to make sure we could integrate them as rapidly into the process. But it really is to make sure that we can always have a quorum of 9 going forward. I also thought I would share with you, not that we are in any way replicating how they did in 2011, but we can learn from 2011. Their border redistricting committee was advisory, so it was very different. It had, I believe, 10 committee members, and it had 10 alternates. So we're not suggesting that you use that approach, but you need to know there is precedent to have alternates. I think in the bylaws, when you have all 14, you can decide how you'd want to use your alternates. But I thought as you think about the candidates, you may want to think picking your top 8 or your top 9, then which ones would be the permanent 6 commissioners, and knowing that these are 3 that you may want to notify that they may be tapped in the future. Commissioner Vento, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, so I like the conversation that's going on. The idea about the alternates, I think, is, agreeable. I do think that it would be important that whoever is an alternate, if we were to go that route, would have to attend the meetings. I just think that would be one area to consider. The other thing just to think about, and I just think this through here, in terms of equality, how do we do this correctly? And what I mean by that, everyone, is like there's 5 districts. So do we have an alternate for each district? Because what happens if, I'm just putting this out there, what happens if the commissioner bails out and there's a lack of representation in that district? I'm just putting this out there. Or there's not equal representation and stuff like this. So, so I just want to put my 2 cents in there about that.
If I may, I think that's a very good point, and that is something that we should bring up to the full commission, and all of the points that you all have made here. are actually very important and prime considerations that we'll note down to bring back to the commission when we consider that item of whether to have alternates and what their role is and how it fits together.
So is there any, oh, I see Commissioner Holtzman.
So a couple things, first of all, just to pick up on what Ms. Watley just said. She's over to my right on the screen. Does that mean that we're not going to be making a decision on whether or not to have alternates until we have the 14-member commission seated?
Yes, what we propose here is that the decision whether to have alternates or not and how they fit into the working of the commission is something that the full commission should consider and that we can build into the bylaws. However, as you identify candidates, you may want to have pre-identified, if you will, 2 to 3 folks or more if you decide as potential alternates, so that if the commission decides to have alternates, you've at least sort of advanced the ball on, pardon me, on who those alternates might be.
All right, and so what I was going to ask about really starts with a question to my fellow commissioners. Who amongst you applied to be on the state CRC, the statewide commission? All right, so we've got 3, it looks like. All right, so that's 4 because I did as well. And my question is actually, how does the state law handle the situation when a commissioner is unable to serve?
That is something I will look at, and I'll provide that information at the meeting where we consider it. And I can also provide examples of how other citizens redistricting commissions that are more local in nature approach it. And there's kind of a variety. And so we'll provide that in for context for your decision making.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on this item? What I'd like to do is keep moving so you can see the whole presentation. You'll receive public comment on whether or not there's any thoughts about having alternates or not, and then we can decide if you want to move forward on that. Okay, I don't see any hands. I'm going to move on. All right. Again, I covered this in the first meeting. This is really for background for the public. The first point is all 60 of the applicants, including, I mean, obviously you're part of the randomly selected group from the 60, all met the minimum qualifications. Your goal is to make sure the commission overall reflects the county's diversity, including racial, ethnic, geographic, and gender diversity. There is a list of the kinds of experiences that the state likes. Commissioner Holtzman referenced this earlier in the minutes. Looking for analytical skills relevant to redistricting process and voting rights, the ability to comprehend and apply the applicable state and federal legal requirements, ability to be impartial, and then an appreciation of the diversity of Los Angeles County demographics and geography. So there were 60 that were qualified. 8 of you were randomly selected, and there are 52 remaining. You have already met the requirement of 1 commissioner per supervisorial district. You may choose to add more or not to each supervisorial district. And again, today we are here to identify the 6. I will reinforce as a reminder to you that you cannot apply formulas or specific ratios. For the public, there is a link if you want to look at any of the applications, and it's at lavote.net/2020-citizens-redistricting-commission. So as I go through the evaluation of the candidates, since this is a public setting, I thought it would be important to sort of put in a context of the 52. All of the 52, well, all the 60 are considered qualified. And so in many ways, what you're doing is trying to think through what the symphony should be like. Do you have too many tuba players? You need an oboe player. You need to think about what will be the mix in terms of the percussion and the timpani section. So again, this is no reflection on any of the individuals in terms of the evaluations, if the evaluation rating is higher or lower, because all 52 applicants are considered qualified. So with that
Gail?
in mind, yes,
Kayla?
yes.
I'm sorry. So I just wanted to add a question for you. When you sent out that new Excel spreadsheet with the city, when I looked at it, the current 8 commissioners, it looks like nobody's from District 4. And I thought Mr. Commissioner Soto was from District 4 on the Excel spreadsheet. That's why I just wanted to verify that.
Well, I'll go through the slides. I thought it was on there. I don't point it out when I get to that slide.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, for public comment, because yes, indeed, every single district has at least one. Okay. So the process that you all agreed to, and I mean, this has been very rapid. You all agreed to evaluate by Saturday, just 2 days ago by 5 o'clock, at least 12 to 13 applicants. And I provided a random list for you all to go through. And you also all agreed that you'd have the latitude to evaluate more if you wanted to. And in terms of the approach, you wanted to bundle the criteria that the state had set aside in terms of experience and use a more holistic approach. So a couple of bravos. I mean, I am so impressed with the 8 commissioners. You all evaluated your packets. On average, an average of 4 commissioners reviewed an application, which goes way beyond the 2 that we asked for. There were a total of 215 application reviews. And on average, each of you went well beyond the 12 to 14. It was an average of 27 applications per commissioner. So bravo, quick turnaround, short timeline, and you really, really spent the time, and I very highly appreciate it. Just looking at the bar graph, 3 of the applications received 2 reviews. You'll see 26 received 4 reviews, and even 1 had 6 commissioners review the application. So I think, you know, again, you've done a great job of looking at the applications, and thank you. The other thing for the public, and this was sort of a definition of the rating scale that evolved, there was great concern to make sure that the rating scale would distinguish and make some relative comparisons so you could narrow the list. So the thinking of the 10-point scale was a 10 was an exceptional candidate that stood out from all the rest. Anything that was a 7, 8, or 9 was among the top 30% of the candidate applications you reviewed. 4, 5, 6 was the middle 30% of the applications reviewed. And then 1, 2, or 3 was the bottom 30%. And I put together a little distribution table on the right, and you all took very seriously the evaluation distinctions. 23% of the candidates received a rating of an 80 or above out of a possible 100. 21% between 70 and 79, 29% between 60 and 69, 10% between 50 and 59, and 17% were rated at a 40 or below. So this is the distribution of your ratings. Yes, Commissioner Stetcher.
Quick question. You multiply these by 10? Our scale was 1 to 10, but your list here goes from 0 to 100. So is it actually a rating of 8 or above that was received by 12?
You'll see the list. Anyone with an 80 score or above, I just calculated how many were in it. So I've distinguished between the top 12 and then the next tier, which would be an additional.
But there were no 80s. There was only an 8. That's all.
Yeah,
the rating scale.
Yeah. I'll show you the list. Again, we're looking at the top 12. So your question if it's an 80 or an 81?
No, my question is whether it's an 80 or an 8, because our rating scale didn't go to 100. It only went to 10. And I just wanted the public to understand that.
Okay, so it could be 8, 7 to 9, 6 to 9, 5. Okay, so again, I was using whole numbers on this, so it's like a percent. So, but thank you for that correction. Okay, the other additional information that I did not have at the first meeting to share had to do with more specifics about where people live. And our independent legal counsel reviewed and said, you know, the application does have everyone sign a privacy waiver. And the county was allowed then to disclose the applicants and your city that you reside in. I am maintaining confidentiality of the physical address, the email addresses, and those kinds of personal metrics. So I thought it would be helpful to start by just reviewing this table, and please let me know if there are any corrections that are needed, but I am providing the city that's on your application and the zip code, and I've already received one correction since then. In terms of political party affiliation, I did verify with the Registrar-Recorder that it is the actual voter registration that was finalized in October before the state elections this November. Okay. Any questions on this additional information? Yes, Commissioner Holtzman.
First of all, what is the correction you received?
It was to Commissioner Soto's zip code.
And what's the correct?
It was still Downey. It's what's on the screen, 90241
Oh,
is
okay.
the correct one.
Okay.
I made the correction this morning.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Gail, I just wanted to say thank you. I saw the correction in it, so it's the version I got. So perfect. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, well, we're moving very fast. So I know there will be little things like this we'll have to update, including my using 10s versus 1s for the rating scale, but we're all on the same page, I believe. Okay, so in addition, in the appendix is an update of the demographic metrics that I presented at the first meeting, because I received input from you to refine that. And I wanted to make sure you had that as a reference point. This table pretty much puts it all on one page in terms of considerations for you, in terms of making sure that your commission reflects Los Angeles demographics and diversity. So you'll see across the top, I have the 8 random, I have the 6 potential, and then I have the term if reflecting, okay? And then I have the population column to the right. Now, I will point out when you only have 14 and you're looking at a population of 10 million, there are going to be some areas where we're going to have decimal points. So one of the discussions at the first meeting was, do you round up or do you round down? So if we look at party affiliation, you have currently 4 Democrats, no party preference, you have 3, and you have 1 Republican, and you have no members of the Green Party. If I take the voter registration in Los Angeles County as of October, the distribution says 56% of the population were registered Democrats. And if we look at the remaining 6, that comes out to 3.8. So you might consider rounding up to 4. If we look at no party preference, it comes out to 0.6. So you could round up to 1, or you might say we're close enough in reflecting. You look at the Green Party 0.2, you could combine that with a 0.6, you have a 0.8, and you could say we could add 1 more no party preference, just for consideration. In terms of Republican, it's 1.5. So you could add 1 or 2 Republicans and it would still reflect the party affiliation. Before I go on to the other demographics on this chart, I thought I should open it up to party preference because it is the one criteria where the state says shall reflect. So any comments on party affiliation, general demographics? Yes, Commissioner Holtzman.
Well, I strongly disagree with the way the party affiliation is broken out in the slideshow here. And I have comments in general about that approach that I would like to read into the record, and also especially for the benefit of my fellow commissioners at some point. I was thinking I would wait till the end of the slideshow and then get to that. I provided Ty Lee a file, a PDF of something I'd like to have the commissioners see.
It's up to you. Do you want to share it at this point?
I would like to let you finish the slideshow.
Okay.
And then do that, if that's all right.
Okay. Any other questions before I move on to gender? Okay, now gender was interesting because it was a random sample. It was not a stratified random sample. You ended up with 2 female, 6 male on among the 8 of you. The population is 51% female, 49% male. So given that split, you could add as many as 5 female commissioners and 1 male commissioner. Any questions on gender? Okay, I'm going to go on to age. Age is interesting. You'll see the age distribution in terms of the current commissioners. The population, 27% are under age 18, so they're not eligible to vote. 59% are between ages 18 and 64, and 14% are age 65 or older. So if we just look at the demographics, you probably have met the age group of, you already have 2 who are over age 70. So you've met that. So you probably do want to look at a distribution of age. I will point out a couple of things I have heard from the Registrar-Recorder is that when you use the experience criteria to pick the 60 most qualified, the longer you live, the more experience you have. So that is in some ways why the number of applications tended to be more, at age 40 and older versus we have, no applicants under age 30. So just to sort of give you an indication of that. Any questions on age before I go on? Okay, and then ethnicity race. So again, we've separated out from the census data, the Latinx and the white. We have the Asian, we have the Black, African American, and then we have other. You see the distribution of the commissioners, 3, 3, 1, 1, and you see the population. This is another area where we're talking about decimal points. So, based on the population, you could add between 3 to 4 more Latinx. You might add an additional white person. You could add another Asian person. And you may want to look at Black and other and think about adding obviously 1 more diversity category there. Los Angeles County is incredibly diverse. We want to make sure we have that diversity on the commission. So again, these are giving you order of magnitude. It's not formulations. It's things we want you to consider as you add. Any questions on ethnicity or race? Okay, I'm going to keep going. All right, so I will point out the Excel spreadsheet that I sent out. It's a PDF file for the public, contains all the evaluations of all 52 candidates. They're listed alphabetically. There are other additional pages that have the sorts of the top 12 and the top 23. So what I'm presenting to you are the ones that were rated top 12. And to Commissioner Stetcher's point, I have used the numbers 9.2, 8.3. So we're on the same page there. It also gives you the number of commissioners who evaluated that application. So you'll see of the top 12, there was 1 evaluated by 3, but almost everyone else had 4 or 5 people look at the evaluations, and you all did this independently. You will see you have quite a few females. You have 3 males. I also, within each of the genders, broke it down by race. So you'll see among females, you have 2 Asians, you have 1 Black, 3 white, 1 Latina, and then under no party preference, you've got 1 Black and 2 Latinos and 1 white, and you have 1 Republican. Okay. And then we've also provided for your use, not only their supervisorial district, but also what city or unincorporated area they are in. I have marked in red, and I think there needs to be a correction on this because there was a change this morning. You have an overlap. Commissioner Segura lives in Los Angeles, zip code 90032. Candidate Christopher Castaneda lives in the same zip code. Do ignore the red for candidate Sarah Soto. I received a correction this morning. Green means it's a zip code that is neighboring. So Commissioner Stetcher is in Santa Monica with zip code 90043, and candidate Dan Woods is one zip code away in 9042. So if you are concerned about geographic diversity beyond just the 5 supervisorial districts, please keep that in mind. So are there any questions about the top 12 list?
Gayla, I just wanted to say thank you for doing this data crunch for us. It's really helpful.
Well, I appreciate, you all worked it very hard up through Saturday night getting these to me. And so I turned them around yesterday. So, it's a work in progress. Okay, so now this table takes the initial demographic profile I gave you of Los Angeles. And what I wanted to do was give you a little bit more of a profile of the candidates just from a numerical perspective. So of the top 12, 7 are Democrat, 4 are no party preference, 1 is Republican. And you can sort of see in the buff color, these are sort of the order of magnitude. You could add up to 4 Democrats. So probably out of 7, you might be able to find 4, if you follow what I'm saying. In terms of no party preference, you have 4 candidates and you could add up to 1. So you probably have a good pool there. Republican, whether or not you decide you want to add 1 or 2, you only have 1 candidate. So I will be sharing with you the next grouping. You may want to look at more candidates than just that 1, particularly since that person lives in a zip code next to Commissioner Stetcher. Just a consideration. On gender, you could add as many as 5. You have 9 candidates. So you probably have a good pool from there. In terms of male, you could add 1. You could choose to add more. It's your choice. But again, if you wanted to reflect gender, you've got 3 candidates. I also would suspect that as you add either male or females, it's going to cover, obviously, the party affiliation as well. In terms of age, you'll see you have sort of a nice distribution here of age. Again, it skews towards age 60 to 69, but you've got people in each decade where you could add additional people up to 6. So I think you probably have enough from the age distribution. And then the last table has to do with ethnicity. And in terms of the Latinx, you have 3 candidates and you could add 3 to 4. So again, you may want to look at the next list. In terms of white, you have 5 candidates. You might add 1. So you probably have enough to choose from that. Asian, you have 2 candidates. You can decide if you want more or if you're happy to choose from one of those 2. And then in terms of Black African American, there are 2 candidates who are in this top 12. So questions on this table before I go to some more sorts? Okay. So given that, I felt it was important to share with you what the list would look like if you went to the 23, okay? And so basically, this is a sort of scores that are, I said 70, it should be 7.0, Commissioner Stetcher. And gray just means white under the evaluation means they were 8 or up. And if it's gray, it means it was 7 to 7.9, just so you could have it as a quick visual reference point. This is sorted by party affiliation, then by gender, then by ethnicity. And I have given you, again, the cities and the zip codes. And I've identified which ones where there may be overlap. Yes, Commissioner Stetcher.
A small potential correction.
Okay.
For candidate Dan Woods, if he is in fact in zip code 90402, then the city should be Santa Monica.
Right.
We
took what was on his application.
Oh, all right.
Okay, but thank you for letting us know. So it would be the exact same city as you.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on this list? Okay, so I'm going to show you the demographic implications. I've added the number of people who are in the top 23 into this column. And what I've done, just to help you, you don't have to use this if you don't want to, I highlighted in yellow where I felt there was a large enough pool for you to pick. So for example, for Democrat, I think Democratic Party, I think from the top 12, you have 7 candidates. You probably don't have to look at the next tier. Same thing for no party preference. You have 4, you might add 1. For the Republican, you may want to look at that deeper, that next level down, so you could have a pool of 4 candidates for the Republican. Any questions on that portion of the screen? With gender, I highlighted in yellow. I think you have enough from your top 12 to come up with a good mix of male, female. That doesn't mean you might not go further down your list, but I think it's a good starting point. Same thing on age. When I looked at ethnicity, other than white, I think there's some areas where you do need to look at the top 23, particularly for Latino, for Asian, and for Black. Now, I suspect once you look at the top 12, we can then visit the distribution and see where you come out, then to see where you may want to make sure you have the kind of mix you want. So any questions on this table? Okay. So I do want to point out to the commissioners and to the public that the spreadsheets that were provided not only provide the full range of all of the ratings of all 52 applicants, but also contains the commissioner comments that they made, again, as part of transparency. So another item for discussion, and again, we'll want to receive public comment on this, is consideration if you're going to want to interview any candidates. And I think we can tackle that question after you begin to think about who you may want to consider to be the 6. If you do decide to have interviews, I will talk about this later. We probably would schedule them for next Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We would probably encourage you to have standard 3 to 5 questions that all finalists are given to answer. It would be a public meeting, and we would run it like we are doing this on webinar and through YouTube. We would also propose that you set a time limit. Again, it may depend upon how many candidates you decide you want to interview, but it's like alternates. It's something for you to consider. So I think before we open it up to public comment, are there other comments from the commissioners?
If I could weigh in real quickly.
Yeah.
Just on one observation, and Gayla touched on this at the beginning, but I also want to touch on it here before we take public comment, is in anticipating, questions from the commission about the demographic information. This information is presented, but to be clear, you need not and should not apply specific ratios for criteria or characteristics really other than political party preference. And even as for political party preference, there doesn't have to be an exact match of the ratios. So it's a little bit odd situation where we're presenting you the information, but we also want you to know that you are free on characteristics other than political party preference to make your choices without regard to the numbers. But because the statute does say these should be considerations, although not strictly applied ratios or formulas, that's why we're presenting you with the information.
It would also, Commissioner Maeda.
2 comments. One is that the this demographic data is based on 2010 census data. Is that right? Or what is it based on?
No, I actually went to the July 2019 update that the census did based on the American Community Survey.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. My other comment is I wasn't quite clear from Commissioner Holtzman what his additional data or sort or whatever it was. When is he going to present that? Or what is that, if I can ask?
Commissioner Holtzman.
Sure, I'll address that. Like I said, I do have something to read, which I think would answer Commissioner Maeda's question. So I'd like to do that. That could take some time. So the answer to when, I would suggest we do it, I do this after we take a 5-minute break or so, because we've been going for an hour now. And before or after public comment, as Gayla thinks is most appropriate. So that's my answer.
Yeah, and I'm happy for us to have a rest so people can stretch their legs and come back and do a 5-minute break and come back. Maybe we should do that before public comment, if that would work for folks. But before we do it, I need to answer any of your questions, because then we would come back. We should probably deal with, these issues. So it's really up to you, Commissioner Holtzman, when you want to present or share that information.
All right. Let me just look at the screen and see my fellow commissioners. Would you prefer I do it before a break or after a break? Do you think
Or before public comment or after public comment?
Oh yeah, before public comment or after public comment? What do you think?
I think before, so that the public can comment on whatever it is. Without knowing what it is, it's hard to tell,
Okay.
but I would say before.
All right, that's fine.
And I would say after the break, but before public comment. And what you said, it was lengthy, so I hope lengthy is less than 5 minutes. But
Okay, it probably will be. I don't know.
So I've stopped sharing my screen. Why don't you share that so they have the information and talk about it? And then I will put up a screen. I'll see if there are any other questions. Then I'll put up a screen that we would be taking a short break.
Oh, so I should put it on the screen now? Or I also sent it to Tylee if he wants to put it on the screen.
You are correct. Ty, I closed my screen so you could post it.
All right, I will have it up in a second.
And I believe we have our last commissioner joining us, even though she is claiming to be Twyla Kerr again.
Priscilla, Commissioner Sakura, could you rename yourself? In the future, you have to use the link to sign on that I've sent you individually. So.
Okay. If you
And
could
by the way, Twyla, could you add Commissioner Segura as attending the meeting in terms of part of our recognition of roll call?
Yes, I will clear it for the
Thank
record.
you very much. So Ty, we lost it. Can you do it again?
Okay, are you able to see that? Okay.
Yeah, if you could show the other tab, the first tab, that's the thing I'm going to read. Okay. Or maybe during the break, show the second tab, because obviously the first tab doesn't all fit. Okay, very good. Very good. Thank you.
No problem at all.
Break time?
Okay, so you don't want to comment any further on that?
No. People thought I should do this after we take a break.
Okay, so I am going to put up, because this is being recorded on YouTube, basically a placard that we're taking a 5-minute break. Let me check my official time. It's 11:02. Let us plan to come back in about 5 minutes at 11:07, give or take a minute or so. Okay.
Very good.
So Ty, can you stop sharing and I'll add that we are taking a break. Let me rename. I'm working out some technical difficulties. We'll be right back with you.
Commissioner Segura, you can change your name on the on your Zoom picture. Three dots, I'm told, at the top right, and you should be able to do that. Can you do that? Thank you.
I apologize to everyone. We're working out some technical difficulties. The YouTube recording live has not worked today for technical reasons. Priscilla, Commissioner, thank you for renaming your box. I believe you were inadvertently given hosting permission. Could you please give it back to me?
And Gayla, there's some, I don't know if you're able to hear, but when you speak, there's some reverb and
I know.
echoing.
We
Okay.
will take care of that problem. I'm just making sure I get the hosting privileges back to give to Ty. And for some reason it got assigned to Priscilla when she entered the meeting. Do you see in the three dots in the
Yes.
upper right-hand corner?
Yeah, I just transferred
Oh.
hosting rights.
Ty, I still do not have it.
Gayla, so it does look like you are the host right now. And if you would like to transfer the hosting privileges under your participant tab, if you find my name, go ahead and hover over it and click on the More button.
Done.
Great, thank you.
Okay. And then you'll make me a co-host. So I apologize for the slightly longer break. I hope you were able to make good use of that time. And again, we were testing out the YouTube capabilities, and I think we have figured out what the technical glitch was and should be able to do YouTube live streaming for future meetings. And again, sorry about the technical glitch right there. So with that, I am going to turn to Commissioner Holtzman to share his comments. And would you like Ty to post them, or you want to just talk from them? What would you prefer?
If Ty could post them and scroll along as I read, that would be great.
Start with the letter.
Yeah, we'll start with the letter. And as I put in the chat, people watching and commissioners might want to have a copy of the Los Angeles County CRC part of the elections code handy to follow along with my letter here. So I'll just start. I'm saying that this is something I wanted to send to all of you pretty much right after the first meeting, a couple days later. So I sent it in to staff and was told that that might be a problem with the Brown Act or for whatever reason, so that I could only bring it to you now. I'm sorry that I could only bring it to you now and not earlier. I wanted to start by saying we had a good first meeting, in part to the county staff, which did a great job of organizing it, Gayla and Holly, and it got me thinking. And my thinking has changed somewhat since what I was talking about in the first meeting, what I was saying in the first meeting. So this is to let you know how. First of all, the PowerPoint slide we saw that was labeled option 2, criteria-based, just the criteria-based evaluation sample. Sorry, I just had to dismiss a phone call. I apologize. Anyway, it showed the criteria that the county elections official had to use in assessing applicants' qualifications. The non-yes or no criteria, not the checkbox ones. So those criteria, you can find those criteria in section 21.532D, paragraphs 5 through 7 of the election code. So you might want to find those. What I wanted to say to everybody is that I'm sorry I was too quick to dismiss those as having already been considered by the elections official, who's the Registrar-Recorder County Clerk. And I was too quick because another paragraph in the elections code, which is where we are now in the process, it requires us to consider similar criteria. And that paragraph is section 21532H. 2. So you can find that in the law. And so what we're doing now is we're supposed to choose, somebody's making noise there. I don't know if you can mute. Ty, can you mute whoever the background noise was? Okay, maybe it's muted now. Thank you. So here's the thing. Right now, the criteria come from this part of the elections code 21532H2. And it requires us to choose our 6 appointees based on the following: relevant experience, which could actually cover more experiences than were referenced in paragraph D, parts 5 through 7. Analytical skills, which is similar to what's put in D5. Ability to be impartial, that's similar to what's in D6. And ability to ensure that the commission reflects the county's diversity, including racial, ethnic, geographic, and gender diversity. Now, this is not simply appreciation for diversity, which was in the previous part of the elections code in 5 through 7. This is actually to have the commission reflect diversity. So that means that when we make our picks, we should ensure that some of our picks actually embody that the diversity, not just appreciate diversity. And yeah, as was discussed, we're not supposed to apply formulas or specific ratios in doing that. But it looks to me like we should use our appointments, look to use our appointments to fill any gaps in those areas, the ones I listed above, that we notice now with just the 8 of us on the commission. As part of the process here, I think we should look for such gaps. And as was mentioned, we must also consider political party preference to comply with paragraph C, 21532 paragraph C, which requires that the political party preferences of the commission members be the 14 commission members be as proportional as possible to the total number of voters who are registered with each political party in the county of Los Angeles, as determined by registration at the most recent statewide election. We don't have that exactly now. We have, I think from October 19th or something before the election, we might want to ask for an update. But confusingly, as Counsel Watley said, it doesn't have to be exactly the same as the political party preferences among registered voters of the county. So just to draw the contrast, I say that proportions are ratios, and looking at proportions pretty much requires using formulas. So for this, we can use formulas and probably should. So the next thing is sort of related to that. I showed a spreadsheet about party proportionality last time, and I lumped together all registered voters who are not registered as preferring the Republican or the Democratic Party. I call them non-RORD. I did that because the selection process for the state CRC does it that way, does that. The law about the Los Angeles County Citizens Redistricting Commission, which I'm abbreviating LA Co CRC to differentiate it. And I'm not just saying LAC CRC, because at some point there might be an LA City Citizens Redistricting Commission. So that's about as short an abbreviation as I thought we could use there, or just in this case, the co-CRC, the county CRC. Anyway, the law for us is a little different than from the state. And that's in that 21532C, which I accept, which the our part of the law is there, which I excerpted and discussed above. So, you know, just reading our part of the law, I'm not really sure what, if any, weight we should give to no party preference declined to state and minor party registrants, and looking at party preference proportionality on our commission. I mean, perhaps since no party preference is no party preference, we're not supposed to consider any NPP people at this stage at all, the 6 final members appointment stage at all. But voters who are not registered as preferring either major party, and I'm one of those, I think we all, if you're in a minor party or NPP, share some concerns about electoral representation because most electeds are in one of the 2 major parties. So what I'm proposing at this point is that we follow the state's lead and group minor party registrants with the NPP DTS voters as one big party for the purpose of constituting a commission with membership proportional to party registration. And for those of you who applied to the state commission, you know that that's how it was done. I want to point out that otherwise, for one thing, the remaining applicant, we have one who's registered as preferring the Green Party, and she wouldn't stand a chance at this point, which could be seen as unfair. And I think that if we interpret the law to exclude entirely because of small numbers, small party or no party preference applicants at this stage, that could invite a lawsuit challenging our interpretation or challenging the law itself. And I do know that in many cases, minor parties have been known to sue over being treated differently from major parties in terms of ballot access and similar things. So anyway, the third, just want to say, I do remember saying we shouldn't lean too heavily on supervisorial district because we might be totally redoing the map. But then after the meeting, I realized, because we didn't have zip code at the time. That was pretty much all the information we had on geography for some of the applicants. Now we have zip code, which is what I asked for in the paragraph below. I don't think we want to unredact the applicant's actual residences addresses, which Gayla mentioned before. We don't want to do that. So now we have zip code, which is fine. And just to point out some of the other things, if we actually get everybody's addresses or zip codes plotting on a map, we could roughly gauge some of the things I've listed here as being important geographic variables, like altitude, climate, air pollution monitoring area, that's my expertise, urban, rural division, property taxes, wealth, distances from things like freeways, transit, school, et cetera, et cetera. You can see them listed there. But of course, I just wanted to say we'll work with the data we have. So that's that. And if you want to, Todd, please go to the other tab. I just updated for better public understanding, really, and the commissioner understanding, the same spreadsheet I showed last time, showing that using all the parties to the right of the blank space there, from independent to NPP as one big party, lumping them in as a non-RORD, non-Republican or Democrat, and then dividing the total number of registrants by the number of seats, using the whole number as a baseline, and then to round it out from 13 seats to 14 seats, using the party with the largest fractional part of the number to get the 14th seat. It shows you that the desired distribution amongst the three bins that I'm suggesting we use, minus the existing distribution, showing at the bottom a desired number of each to add. So there's that. Thank you for your time and listening to all this. If you have any questions, let me know, or yeah, let me know now or whenever there's an opportunity. Thanks again.
Are there questions for Commissioner Holtzman? Commissioner Maeda?
So Commissioner Holtzman, bottom line, are you saying that you still think it's important to weigh party preference when it comes to Democrats and Republicans, and with regards to other parties that are not Republicans or Democrats or non-party preference, that's treated as its own separate category, and you would want to have consideration for those candidates who are fit into one of those, who are either non-party preference or other candidates, other parties other than Democrat and Republican? Is that the bottom line?
I think I understand what you're saying. I think, yes, I want the applicants considered in those three bins, the D, R, and the non-ROR bins.
Okay, I certainly agree with that. And I just want to caution, it's not that anyone is saying we're not going to consider a Green Party candidate or a candidate from a party other than a Republican and Democrat. We're saying that they are going to be considered, but if they're considered, we will essentially treat them as if they were other than Republicans or Democrats. In other words, NPP, in that bucket.
Yeah.
If I may weigh in and provide some historical context for the law on this, when the bill that went through that created this commission was first passed, it did not reference in section 21532 subdivision C, it did not reference initially accounting for those with no party preferences. Senate Bill 158 was passed on an urgency basis and took effect in September of this year, which amended the statute to provide that there should be a consideration of no party preference. So that history is consistent with how Commissioner Holtzman and Commissioner Maeda are speaking about treating those with no party preference or other preferences.
Commissioner Stetcher.
Yes, could you clarify, please, how the data that underlie your spreadsheet differ from the data that underlie the tally that Gayla provided for us? Are they more current, less current? What's the source?
Okay, Commissioner Stetcher, they're from the same source. The URLs there on the screen. But I didn't leave out American Independent, Libertarian, Peace and Freedom, Unknown, Other. I included all of it.
And if I may, as further clarification, there was one candidate from one of those other parties from the Green Party. That individual is listed under all 52. The Registrar-Recorder actually combined that number into your NPP. And if I'm following Commissioner Holtzman, maybe we call NPP not Republican, not Democrat. But basically the numbers are identical. Am I correct, Commissioner, in terms of the NPP category includes all NPP and non-Republican, non-Democrat options, which right now is one individual?
I didn't tally the applicants. I just tallied voter registrants in the county. And
so we have one who's Green Party who is excited. Yeah, that's it.
I know that. We know that.
Okay, so I can certainly change NPP with the definition that NPP also includes non-Republican, non-Democrat, if that meets with other people's, going forward when we discuss this. Is this something we should have a motion and we need to vote on, or is it just guidance and advice you're giving to me in terms of how to display the data?
I
I'm
think
gonna-
that's for council to address.
Yeah.
She's coming in now.
I was just about to say that can just be a consensus direction to staff, and no motion is needed for that.
Okay, so should we just show of
No,
hands? Or
I just-
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes, I just want to thank Commissioner Holtzman on providing this this information because it does show some additional clarity. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Right. I don't think there needs to be a show of hands or anything. Staff can just simply take that and make that clarification going forward.
Okay, so commissioners, any other comments, or should we move to public comment? I think no one is raising their hands. Let me move to public comment. I do want to share with the public the mechanics of how we plan to go through this. Let's begin. Hold on. So we are doing Zoom webinar, which will be a tool we plan to use going forward. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the public to address the commission. We are going to limit it to 1 minute. And when you speak, because some individuals are on the phone, please state your name and the affiliation at the beginning. If you feel comfortable, you may turn on your video during this portion. If you are on the Zoom webinar, you can raise your hand and the host, Ty Lee, will call on members of the public then as well. If you are on the phone line, you can press #9 to raise your hand. And then when it is your turn to speak and Ty will call out to the speakers, you would then press *6 to unmute and speak. Members of the public, if you'd like to make any comments, you can enter it in the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom webinar, and we'll then have Ty read those afterwards. I did know a technical question that had to do with the overall ratings. So this morning I had completed the tables that listed all of the applicants, what their scores were, and they are in a PDF file attached to an updated file attached to today's agenda. And you may find them there, along with the most recent PowerPoint that we're using today. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I think we'll open up to public comment. Or should I leave this? Maybe it's better if I leave the screen open for the public to see as a reference point. Once we go through the public comments, then I will go through the list of the 4 public correspondence that were also received this morning, and we'll have Ty read those out as well. So Ty, I'm going to turn this over to you to call on the first public presenter.
Great, thank you. So the first one with their hand up is Dorina Wong. So Dorina Wong, I am going to promote you to panelists so that you can speak on the mic. And if you're comfortable, share your video as well.
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I want to thank the commissioners and the commissioner staff for all the hard work you've done to create, the fair and equitable Citizens Redistricting Commission. I was unable to attend the first meeting, but very happy to share some initial thoughts about your evaluation process. First, I do appreciate your thorough evaluation and rankings, and I'm very honored to be, one of your top 12. I'd like to just add a couple of additional demographic elements or considerations for you to consider as a member, of the LGBTQ community. I would recommend to add, sex orientation and gender identity to achieve the commissioner's goal of reflecting the diversity, as well as perhaps a person with disabilities, and to round off the diverse population in the county. And just in terms of, I would support the idea of selecting alternate commissioners. I think Commissioner Franklin's point that it would be a good idea to have replacements in the event
Your
of—
1 minute is up.
Oh, okay. Again, thank you again for just listening to my comments.
Next public speaker, Ty.
is Karen Diaz. And Karen Diaz, I will promote you to panelist. Again, share your video if you are comfortable with that.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Karen Diaz. I'm calling out for the Coalition of Humane Immigrant Rights, CHIRLA, an organization that has been founded in 1986 to advance immigrant rights. I wanted to reach out to you to thank you for your service to Los Angeles County and the commitment to uplift the voices of all of our communities of interest and uphold the citizens led process. And first of all, I want to thank the commissioner's attention to the fact that there are 3.5 million immigrants in Los Angeles County, comprising 35% of the population, the largest of any region. Also, Los Angeles County is home to the third largest foreign-born electorate with 1.3 million foreign-born eligible voters. And this is why we want to share a recommendation to bring Apolonio Morales. He's the son of immigrants. His mother and father immigrated from Mexico in the early 70s to provide him a better opportunity. And thanks to the 1986 amnesty, they were able to adjust their status and become permanent lawful residents and apply to become citizens of the United States, which is why we're recommending Apolonio Morales. Thank you. And we also attached a letter from our organization and sent to the counselor. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, Ty.
Okay. So there are no more hands, so I will read from the Q&A section. So Nancy Diaz recommend that candidates addresses is verified to ensure that it is current and there is a balance of cities represented across county. They asked, do we have a balance of representation from Valley cities, including San Fernando, San Gabriel, Antelope, and not just the city of LA? Nancy Diaz also asked, for those not selected, will they have access to ratings and comments? Nancy Diaz also put in the Q&A, yes, an alternative for each district. Commissioner for that district should engage alternatives to ensure engagement, awareness, and that district is fairly represented. Nancy Diaz also commented, another category to consider is candidate's profession. Is balance, business, educator, research/data scientist, homemaker, union, small business owner, disability, veteran, etc. And Nancy Diaz asks, how do you ensure there is no conflict of interest? And a comment from Alan Eric, which may be a comment from earlier comments, just indicating South Bay. Okay. There is now a hand from Kimberly Fuentes, and Kimberly Fuentes, I will now promote you to panelist. Share your video if you are comfortable, and you will have 1 minute.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Kimberly Fuentes. I'm the Policy and Communications Director for California League of United Latin American Citizens. Congratulations on your selection as the first 8 commissioners for the LACRC. In reviewing the pool of the current 52 remaining applicants, we remain confident that the commissioners have the ability to choose well-qualified Latinos and Latinas to serve in this capacity of redrawing the lines for our county supervisorial districts. As of 2019, Latinos accounted for more than 48% of the population in our diverse county. In order to reflect that, we strongly urge the Commission to select 4 Latinos or Latinas to the selection of the remaining 6. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Great, so there are no more hands and no more questions in the Q&A. So I will be reading comments provided through or submitted through the public comment section on the website. This first one is from Angie Medina, president of the Whittier Latino Coalition. Dear supervisors, I'm writing in support of Apolonio Morales for the Redistricting Commission. I live in Whittier in District 4. I'm a county library commissioner appointed by Supervisor Janice Hahn. I'm also the president of the Whittier Latino Coalition and Apolonio is a board of this grassroots community organization. Our mission is to promote civic participation and empowerment of our members of the community within the greater Whittier area. Apolonio has taken a major leadership role in providing training to youth, parents, and immigrants. He has participated in addressing inequalities in housing, employment, and criminal justice. He always steps up when it counts. He is truly committed to the underserved. Apolonio has the leadership skills and backgrounds to represent our community in the 4th District. I strongly recommend him for this position. The next comment is from Jaime Lopez, a member of the Service Employees International Union 721. Esteemed LA County Supervisors, thank you for your service to Los Angeles County, commitment to uplift the voices of all communities of interest and uphold our Los Angeles County citizen-led redistricting process. My name is Jaime Lopez, and I am writing in support of Mr. Apolonio Morales to be appointed to the Los Angeles Citizens Redistricting Commission. As a resident of the South Whittier community in District 4 and a member of SEIU 721, I have known Mr. Apolonio Morales for more than 3 years. As a community leader, Apolonio has demonstrated a high level of thoughtful and intentional interactions, which have served to advance community priorities and concerns and would make an excellent addition to the Los Angeles County Citizen Redistricting Commission. Thank you. Next comment is from Sean Tan, a Churla member and LA County resident. Dear LA County CRC, thank you for your service to Los Angeles County and your commitment to uplift the voices of all communities of interest and uphold our county citizen-led redistricting process. I am writing to urge the Commission to consider Apolonio Morales as one of its members because I believe that he shares the same commitment to fairness and equal representation as the Commission. He also demonstrates a fearless resolute for advocating for immigrant communities in LA County. I want to call the Commission's attention to the fact that there are 3.5 million immigrants in Los Angeles County, comprising 35% of the population, the largest number of any region. Los Angeles County is also home to a third of foreign-born electorate, with 1.3 million foreign-born eligible voters. Apolonio Morales is a son of immigrants. His mother and father immigrated from Mexico in the early 1970s, seeking a better life and opportunity. Because of the 1986 immigration bill, they were able to adjust their status and become lawful permanent residents and apply to become citizens of the United States. His parents' immigrant experience has taught Apolonio what it means to make sacrifices, work hard, and the value of service to others. For this reason, I believe he will be an invaluable member of the Commission. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Next comment is from Martha M. Escutia. Dear Supervisors, please accept this email as a wholehearted endorsement of Apolonio Morales for the Redistricting Commission. I live in Whittier, California in District 4. Apolonio is one of the strongest and hardest working community leaders. He works with youth, he works with local community groups, all for one purpose, to train citizens in civic participation and ensure transparent government. That type of commitment is critical for the Redistricting Commission to ensure that its actions are transparent and responsive to the needs of the community. At a time in which we need more responsive government and a greater faith in the political process, we need to dig deep into the community and choose leaders from the community and with the integrity to serve with honesty. Apolonio is that person for District 4. Thank you for your kind consideration of the candidacy of Apolonio Morales for the Redistricting Commission, District 4. Again, this is from Martha M. Escutia, a retired state senator for Senate District 30. The next comment is from Yvonne Gonzalez Duncan of California LULAC State Director. Dear Commissioners, on behalf of the California League of United Latin American Citizens, congratulations on your selection as the first 8 commissioners for the 2020 Los Angeles Citizen Redistricting Commission. We would like to commend you all in this huge undertaking to serve in this capacity as the LA County seats its first independent citizens redistricting commission. Senate Bill 958, which established the CRC, was born out of years of historical discrimination, specifically one where it diminished Latinos' voting power. It is imperative that we highlight your responsibility given this historical account to ensure the fair and equal representation of Latinos in the next 6 seated commissioners. We are writing as the largest and oldest Latino civil rights organization where our mission is to advance the economic condition, educational attainment, political influence, housing, health, and civil rights of the Latino population. We have been engaged in redistricting issues at both the state and local level. We encouraged and educated our membership on the application process for the Redistricting Commission. We worked alongside other community organizations and civil rights organizations calling for good faith governance. We worked alongside the Los Angeles Registrar-Recorder County Clerk in disseminating information across our social media platforms in both English and Spanish to ensure Latino-Latina representation in the first 60 most qualified applicants considered for the CRC. The work of this commission will impact over 10 million people. We are strongly committed to creating a redistricting process that fully exemplifies the state mandate and creates the bridge to a much fairer process. As was written into law, SB 1959, Section 21532, subsection 7 and H2 states that the commissioner should possess experience that demonstrates an appreciation for the diverse demographics and geography of the County of Los Angeles, and that the 6 appointees shall be chosen based on relevant experience, analytical skills, and ability to be impartial, and to ensure that the commission reflects the county's diversity, including racial, ethnic, geographic, and gender diversity. In reviewing the pool of current applicants, we remain confident that the commissioners have the ability to choose well-qualified Latinos and Latinas to serve in this capacity of redrawing the lines for our county supervisorial districts. As of 2019, Latinos accounted for more than 48% of the population in our diverse county. As of 2018, according to the UCLA report evaluating Latino voter mobilization, there was 1.7 million registered Latino voters in LA County. With that being said, we hold the opportunity of restoring public faith in our democracy by ensuring that each district can elect a candidate that will represent the needs of our community. You can fulfill that commitment by selecting 3 Latinos, Latinas to serve on the remaining seats of the commission. We understand that the responsibility you all hold and will continue to work alongside you in ensuring a fair and inclusive process. Thank you for your service and your commitment to the redistricting process. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me at yvonne5.lulac@gmail.com. Okay, the next comment is from Primo Castro of Los Angeles Government Relations Director. My name is Primo Castro, and I am commenting as a resident of the La Habra Heights community in District 4. I serve as the Government Relations Director for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. Thank you for your service to the Los Angeles County, commitment to uplift the voices of all communities of interest and uphold our Los Angeles County citizen-led redistricting process. I have known and worked with Mr. Morales for several years and can attest to his integrity, fitness, character, and passion to deliver equal access to all communities, regardless of their background. As a community leader, Apollonio has demonstrated a high level of thoughtful and intentional interactions, which have served to advance community priorities and concerns and would make an excellent addition to the Los Angeles County Citizens Redistricting Commission. Thank you. The next comment is from Angelica Salas of Churla. Dear members of the Selection Committee, as the Executive Director for the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, I give my sincere recommendation of Apollonio Morales for the Los Angeles Citizens Redistricting Committee. Over the course of the past 7 years, Churla has witnessed Apollonio's ability to take on leadership roles, which have served to advance the rights and representation of immigrants in our community. He has demonstrated a fearless and resolute affinity to inspire our immigrant community to action in pursuit of social justice. In his role as Director of External Affairs, he has demonstrated a high level of thoughtful and intentional interactions, which has allowed for the strengthening of our organizational relationships. His engagement with community leaders and members from community faith, labor, refugee, and immigrant rights organizations have resulted in long-standing relationships that are based on mutual respect and dignity. Apollonio is no stranger to applying his analytical and research skills to help inform our coalition partners about the complexity of his policy and legal matters as they relate to the issue of immigration. In fact, his work within the coalition's Churla leads has demonstrated his compassion and commitment to a better future for all immigrants based on the belief that everyone should feel like they belong in our society. His work and dedications have resulted in helping immigrant youth and their parents share their voice and be heard. This core belief of inclusion and belonging is deeply rooted in his view of true representative democracy. Time and time again, he has relied on using his ability to investigate and reason given him the clarity necessary to decipher truth from opinion and fact from fiction. With these skills, he has been able to articulate and demonstrate how we must take each individual, whether they have achieved legal status or not, as valuable members of our society. And for this reason, I am fully convinced that Apollonio will make a great addition to helping to ensure equal representation to advance and uphold our democracy for the greater good now and into the future as a representative of the Los Angeles Citizens Redistricting Committee. If you have any questions regarding Mr. Morales' qualification, I will be more than happy to add more details and direct experiences in our work. The next comment is from Karen Diaz. Dear Commissioners, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights and California League of Conservation Voters and California League of Conservation Voters Education Fund would like to share a letter of support for candidates under consideration for the Los Angeles County Citizens Redistricting Commission. Please find the letter attached. Dear Commissioners, congratulations on your selection. I believe this may be the same letter, but actually no. Dear Commissioners, congratulations on your selection as the first 8 members of the 2020 Los Angeles County Citizens Redistricting Commission. We recommend you on your sense of duty to serve and commitment to uphold a transparent district line drawing process that is inclusive of all residents in Los Angeles County. We are a diverse partnership of 2 statewide and regional organizations committed to racial and economic equity, writing to press on the urgency to ensure the Citizens Redistricting Commission reflects the diversity of Los Angeles County, specifically the immigrant community, which is currently not represented on the commission. As you deliberate on the qualifications of 6 individuals who will serve on the remaining seats of the Los Angeles County Redistricting Commission, the undersigned organization would like to remind the commissioners of the need for proportional immigrant representation in a county where nearly 3.5 million immigrants live here, comprising 35% of the population, the largest number of any region, where we contribute $17.3 billion in federal taxes in the county and have $232.9 billion in spending power. And immigrants made up more than half of 51.5% of Los Angeles County's self-employed workers, and they generated $7.2 billion in business income. Furthermore, Los Angeles County is home to 1/3 of foreign-born electorate with 1.3 million foreign-born eligible voters. For these aforementioned reasons, we urge commissioners to prioritize the consideration of a candidate. We are recommending Apollonio Morales as a candidate in our analysis. He demonstrates a strong ability and experience to be impartial, has relevant analytical skills, an appreciation for Los Angeles diversity, and a commitment towards advancing racial and socioeconomic equity. Moreover, Mr. Morales will enable the Los Angeles Citizens Redistricting Commission to more holistically reflect and be able to include communities of color, immigrants, and low-income population in the redistricting process. We also recommend Dorina Wong and Priya Sridharan as candidates. Both Ms. Wong and Ms. Sridharan have experience with redistricting and reapportionment over the course of multiple cycles and would bring substantial expertise to the County Redistricting Commission's deliberation. Ms. Wong was, per her application, was one of the first attorneys to articulate AANHPI as a community of interest under a special master's plan. In 1992, Ms. Sridharan similarly led outreach with Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities during the 2001 to 2002 redistricting process. Moreover, as the commission endeavors to attempt to fully reflect the broad diversity of the county, Ms. Wong and Ms. Sridharan experienced with AANHPI communities as redistricting specialists, attorneys, and educators. Thank you for your service to the Los Angeles County, a commitment to enhance the voices of all Californians and upholding our county citizen-led redistricting process. If you have any questions regarding this letter, please contact Karen Diaz at the Coalition of Humane Immigrants' Rights at kdiaz@chirla.org. The next comment is from Luis R. Reyes. My name is Luis Reyes. I am contacting you as a resident of the community of Whittier in District 4. I'm also a member of Sustainable City Whittier that advocates for environmentally friendly policies in our community. I am submitting my comment in regards to the Los Angeles County Citizen Redistricting Commission and the board's consideration of appointments of its membership. I am voicing support of an applicant, Apollonio Morales, who I've known for over 5 years in my community organizing work to promote sustainable policies in our community. As a community leader, Apolonio has demonstrated a high level of thoughtful and intentional interactions, which has served to advance community priorities and concerns. He would make an excellent addition to the Los Angeles County Citizens Redistricting Commission. Thank you for your consideration. Next, we do have one hand up from Fayez Nawabi. And Fayez Nawabi, I will promote you to panelist so you can share your mic, and if you're comfortable, share your video.
Hello, how y'all doing? Thank you for serving this great county of ours. My name is Fayez Nawabi, and I serve as the Policy and Advocacy Manager at Council on American Islamic Relations LA office. I just want to voice my support for Apolonio Morales. I've known him for several years now, organizing in the immigrant rights space. We have worked extensively these past few years, and I think he would be a great addition to this wonderful body in the coming years to serve all of our communities, and especially representing our immigrant communities, which play such a vital role in LA County. Thank you very much.
No more hands, but we do have a couple of questions and comments in the Q&A. From Dorina Wong, I apologize that I did not provide my name and affiliation when I shared my public comment. My name is Dorina Wong, and I am the Policy Director for Asian Resources, Inc. Thank you again for listening to my comments. The next question is from Luis Chow. Is Whittier in the same district as Rancho, Palos, Verdes?
What I think I will do is open up the map so we can look at it once we go through these comments. And not only can we look at where Whittier is, but also just in general what the districts are as a reminder.
Great. The next comment is from Dr. Verda Bradley. I did not find the comment section on each application, although I was able to see each app. Where are the comments located?
So this is for clarification for everyone. There is a PDF file that is a summary of all the Excel spreadsheets that I use as part of the PowerPoint presentation today. And if you look at it, the last section, the first part gives you the demographics and evaluation rating of all 52 applicants from the commissioners. And the last section are the comments made on the various applications. It is not part of the Registrar-Recorder application link. It is attached to today's agenda, and it was updated this morning.
The next question is from an anonymous attendee. What is the statute that limits public comment to 1 minute? It appears that the public can exceed the 1 minute limit if they do it in writing instead of talking. As the letters can be read by your staff, no longer how long they are. I remember public comments used to be 3 minutes in other Brown Act meetings.
I can weigh in on this. There is no statute that limits it to 1 minute. This is something that the chair of the commission can set. Some other agencies have a default of 3, but that also is not a statutory one. And it does depend on the volume of comments and the amount of business a particular body needs to get through. And it is true that going forward, whatever is read will be subject to the same time limit. So if someone submits a letter, the time limit for reading it will be capped at whatever the applicable time limit is. Here, kind of in the early going, we're sorting through those logistical issues, but that 1 minute limit will apply equally, so that if someone speaks or if someone submits a written comment that is to be read, they will have the same time limit.
There are currently no more hands and no more unanswered questions. Actually, we just got one. A comment from Nancy Diaz. The reading cap does not consider reasonable accommodations if needed.
If there are public commenters that need translation, for example, whether that is through sign language or a different language, the standard is to double the time. So if someone is speaking, we allow time for the translation. So that's how that will be accommodated in the future, is when someone does ask for accommodation in advance and we can make that accommodation, their time will be doubled.
Are there any other further public comments, Ty?
No more hands and no more unanswered comments or questions.
Okay. So with that, commissioners, I'd like to open it up to discussion about really 4 items on the table that we've been discussing. One is if you want to consider just 6, or when you begin to think of selection, you may then say this could be number 7, 8, or 9. These would be 2 or 3 alternates we may want to keep in mind, knowing that the formal adoption of an alternate and what their roles and responsibilities might be would be defined when you have all 14 commissioners as you develop your bylaws in January. So comments and thoughts on alternates. And I'm just going to take each one of these at a time. The next one will be looking at how you may want to shorten the candidate list, followed by would it be useful to have interviews, and then finally, final selection process. So comments first on alternates. Good idea, bad idea? Commissioner Franklin.
Yes, again, it is a good idea to have at least 2 alternates. I would also recommend that the alternates attend the meetings as well, even though they will not be able to vote unless they are actually seated in the event of a commissioner not being able to fulfill his or her duties because of illness or some sort of family emergency. That's my recommendation.
Commissioner Setcher and Commissioner Obregon. I think Commissioner Setcher, you were just raising your thumbs up. Commissioner Obregon, do you want to make a comment?
Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I forgot. Alternate, clarification. We have to come up with 9 agreed out of the 14 in anything we do? Am I right in thinking that?
Okay, I can defer to Holly from a legal perspective on this.
Yes, for any official action, the statute requires an affirmative vote of 9.
9, okay. And out of 16 people?
14.
It's based on
14.
14. So that's like a super majority, or
correct.
Okay, so that's more than just a majority. Okay, now, but that 9 is for us to convene. We might only get 5 votes agreeing of the 9. Am I thinking correctly?
You are correct that 9 is a quorum, and that meeting could be held. And at a meeting where only 9 commissioners attend, it would take a unanimous vote for any official action.
Okay, I wanted to understand that clarification. So 9, we have to have an agreement of 9 people out of 14, and then we have to think about the alternates and to give us, I could see 1 or 2. So I guess I'm leaning that way now now that I have a better clarification. I still think it'd be good to have 1 or 2 definite alter, maybe even 3 is where I'm leaning.
And
And
let me just point out, Commissioner Obregon, you do not have to make those final decisions until you develop your bylaws, if it's 2 or 3. We're just suggesting when you evaluate the candidates, you might have the candidates that could become applicants identified.
I think we already kind of have that. And so whether we do it or not, having the idea that we might do it is good.
Okay, Commissioner Vento.
Yes, so I definitely in favor of the alternates, and I'm definitely in favor of advocating that they attend the meetings so that they're brought to speed. But I think in fairness to everyone, I think we should at least consider at least 1 alternate from each district. because I think it would just be, if we pick two alternates, and let's just say they're from District 4 or District 3, and something happens to the District 5 person, there's not equal representation there. So I'm just trying to just consider that in terms of how we look at this in terms of selecting alternates, is having at least one from each district so that there's no concerns about a lack of representation.
Commissioner Maeda.
So I saw that comment as well, that someone requested one alternate from each additional district. I was actually persuaded by Commissioner Holtzman's comments last time about how, as a minimum, we start out with one from each district, but these are districts that are presumably lines are going to be redrawn. So I'm not sure how useful it is to make sure that there's an alternate from each district. I think we should go for 2 or 3 alternates. I agree with the others that they should attend all the meetings. They shouldn't have voting rights. But we can make those kind of decisions once we constitute the full commission.
Other commissioner comments? Commissioner Holtzman. Unmute, please.
There we go. First, one quick thing off the subject. I want to thank Counsel Watley for letting us know about SB 158, the urgency bill that changed the law, and apologize to my fellow commissioners because I was not using the most up-to-date version of the law when I wrote that letter to you all, because the last time I went online to download the law was during the application period in August, and this bill by Senator Allen didn't take effect until September. So I apologize for that. I will look at the most current version going forward. Now back to the subject at hand. I think the idea of having alternates is an interesting one, and having alternates I do think would help minimize our guilt over not being able to include some of the qualified applicants as actual commissioners. So that's one good reason for having alternates, and also to give those people an opportunity to participate. But one thing I wanted to say is that before we appoint anybody as an alternate, we should contact them and ask them if they're willing to serve as an alternate rather than as a regular member.
Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Soto.
I guess I also agree with the alternate plan. I like having redundancies, and just in case if a vacancy should become available, I think it'll speed up the process. Maybe we do have, instead of 3, maybe 6, based on the previous comment, just in case if someone's not interested in being alternate, then we could just go down that list as well. But maybe 3 confirmed alternates, I think might be a good option to pursue.
So what I would like to suggest is we look at how to shorten the candidate list, see if 6 stand out. It could be 8 stand out, 9 stand out, 10 stand out. And that may also help you to address, are the ones that are, after the first 6, do they represent the supervisorial district? Should we just hold that list in holding place until you develop your bylaws? Because I would encourage you, you need all 14 commissioners to decide if indeed you'll have alternates. Holly, you may legally want to comment on that, but I don't think this is something they can officially define the role of the alternate till we do the bylaws.
That's correct. This really is just sort of having a suggested group of alternates identified to kind of advance the issue if the fully constituted commission decides to go that route. And then the full commission will decide what their role is and how they participate and how they would get seated, if at all.
So my suggestion is we begin to look at the shortened list. We look at how many additional people might be candidates for alternates once you get to your 6, and decide at that point how to proceed. I do not believe this requires a motion. I believe this is just direction to me in terms of staff and how to guide you. If there's
Correct.
contradiction, let me know. Okay. With that, the next component is to look at the shortened candidate list. And I think it might be helpful to show the map of the current 5 supervisorial districts. Just as a reminder, we have a comment from the public on particularly one. So give me a second to quickly get that for you. This is the map. One of the questions raised in the Q&A was, is Whittier and Rancho, Palos Verdes part of the same supervisorial district? And indeed, it looks like it is part of 4. So that's an answer to that question. I think to your point, the new redistricting lines may or may not reflect the current ones, but this is the configuration. I thought this might help just for you to have this visual. It's in the PowerPoint in the appendix as a reference point as we look at the various cities that the candidates are from. And so with that, I'm going to take us back to the original where we left off with the shortened list. If you're comfortable, I'd like to start with the top 12 for discussion. Everyone.
Kayla, what are you on page 22? Is that where you are?
I'm showing slide 22 right now. Now the
Okay,
packet
perfect. Thank you.
this morning would be 22. And I have it displayed. Can you see it on display? So again, here you have your ratings. Here you have the names. We do have an issue with one of the zip codes, 90022. I'm sorry, 90032, and possibly 90402, which we now know is Santa Monica. I can open this up as an Excel spreadsheet if we want to do some edits directly on it. And again, as a refresher, here are some of the numbers that have been suggested. And we would probably redefine no party preference as no party preference or not Republican, not Democrat. And as you can see, none of the top 12 are in the Green Party, but normally we would be including them with the NPP. We have no candidates who indicated any other gender other than male or female. So shall I go back to the names? I see Commissioner Stetcher's hand is up.
Well, I don't know how we want to go through this, but I've looked at these in advance of the meeting, and I'm prepared to recommend to identify 3 people from this list who I think we ought to put on our tentative supplemental commissioner list. If that isn't premature to move that quickly, based on their high scores and the slots that they fill in our target matrix. I would recommend Priya Sridharan, who is an Asian female who's also a Democrat from South Pasadena. Maria Williams Slaughter, a Black female who is an NPP, and Syra Soto, a Mexican-American Latina female who is NPP as well.
Commissioner Stetcher, if you would indulge me, I'm going to close the Excel spreadsheet because this I cannot write on. I mean, I could, but I would rather have us have the Excel spreadsheet so we can actually enter comments there. So if you all will allow me to do a new share. It's the same information. Hold on. So if we go to the top 12, and if I slide up here, sorry, give me a sec.
Okay.
What I'd like to do, if this works for everyone, I will mark in yellow Does this work if I just highlight them this way? It was also Maria. And
We're not seeing what you're we're
okay,
seeing.
give me 1 second then. I am
Yep.
sorry. Let me stop this share and let me do a new share just to be sure we are all seeing it. Okay, so this is the spreadsheet. I can make it a little bit larger.
Yes. Could you highlight the whole row? So not just their name, but also their features?
Yes, and in fact, I don't know why it's not allowing me to. I just felt it might be easier for us to be working from a worksheet like this. And again, this is made as a PDF document for the public to see as well. And I think it's not allowing me to enlarge it. Can you see this all right?
I can see it.
Yes,
And I also
yes,
have your
I can
Excel
see it.
spreadsheet up.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think the challenges are finding Republicans and not picking too many Democratic men. Many of these people are well qualified, but they're white, they're Democratic. And so those three stood out to me, both for their qualifications and their reflecting different parts of town and different characteristics. And now I'll mute for a moment so others can react.
Commissioner Maeda.
So when I looked at this and when I heard Commissioner Stetcher begin his remarks, I thought, yay, we're on the same page. I was going to suggest 3 as well. Unfortunately, they're different 3. So my thought was we definitely need more women. We definitely need more Democrats. And I think it's pretty clear we need more Latinos or Latinas, more Asian, at least one more Asian American, and one more person who would add diversity, whether it's mixed race, African American, or some other ethnicity. And I thought we might be able to get agreement on the top 3 of those candidates, who would be Dorina Wong, Teresa Fuentes, and Carolyn Williams. The top Asian American candidate, who also represents the LGBTQ community, Teresa Fuentes, a top Latina, and also is 51 in the age bracket, which I think is useful for us in terms of diversity, and Carolyn Williams, the top African American candidate. And so those would be ones that I would put forward as ones that I'd like to consider. Although clearly the ones Commissioner Stetcher pointed out, I would be happy to have them as well. I mean, there isn't any doubt that we're talking about very, very highly qualified candidates at this point.
So Commissioner Maeda, I missed one of the names to highlight.
Dorina Wong, Teresa Fuentes, and Carolyn Williams.
Commissioner Franklin's hand was up next.
Yes, thank you. I have a list of 5. Carolyn Williams, Dorina Wong, Dan Woods, Margaret Milligan, and Priya.
Okay. I believe Commissioner Segura's hand was up, then Commissioner Vento.
Thank you. I would suggest Maria Williams Slaughter. She is a civil engineer and may know mapping systems. I noted that she's also served on several community boards. Therefore, her ties to local organizations would be useful to us. I also noted Sarai Soto. My comments on her was that she may be able to assist to identify disparities given her background. I'm supportive of Dorina Wong, who would be a good connection to AAPI groups, and Carolyn Williams.
Okay. Commissioner Vento, your hand had been up.
So I definitely, one thing that I noticed is that we don't have anybody from District 4 right now, according to this data. And so I'm definitely in favor of Maria Williams Slaughter. She comes from District 4. I mean, there's no representation in that whole area. And if you could see how broad that district is, I mean, it's like, so I think that's something to consider. I'm happy with all the candidates that you are highlighting. The only thing is I just don't want to overload one district with too many representatives. That's one of my concerns about that. So just to keep that in mind.
Other commissioners?
My concern with this set,
I'm just going to wanted to announce as Commissioner Stetcher speaking.
I apologize,
That's okay.
is I would just point out that there are 5 Democrats in this set, and I think we have to be, if possible, cautious and try to draw in maybe from the top 23 some more non-Democrat, non-Republican. So we might have to sacrifice one of the Democrats.
I'm sorry. Can I make a statement?
Yes, Commissioner Vento.
Would everybody agree for William Slaughter to be, because she's the only one in the top 12 that is from District 4. So could we all agree on that as being at least one selection we could go forward with?
I'm going to defer to independent counsel. Can I just sort of have this as a consensus process? I was thinking I would put in bold those that seem to stand out and then wait till we have a more complete list to see if we want to vote rather than doing it person by person.
Yes, we can go with either approach, filling one slot might inform how others are done. So you could do it person by person, or you can do as you suggest, waiting, and then we should ultimately, when we consider an individual, I do think we have a vote either individual by individual. Well, it's probably easiest by individual whenever the time comes, but you can defer that and just put a pin or a placeholder in it for now.
Okay, so Commissioner Vento, what I've done is I have put Maria Williams Slaughter in bold as one that's a candidate that you would like to make sure to have representation for Supervisorial District 4. I also made a correction to Sarah Soto. There is no overlap with her zip code with any of the 8 commissioners. So commissioners, other observations? Yes, Commissioner Stetcher.
Thank you. I found myself drifting down to the next set and looking at Mark Mendoza, who is a Republican, Mexican-American from Laverne, because I felt we needed another Republican. So I'm not sure. Yeah, Mark Mendoza.
And we knew that the top 12, we were short on Republican options. Back to top 12. Are there any others on this list that stand out from other commissioners for reflecting diversity that you feel should be put into bold? Yes, Commissioner Soto.
Yeah, so I also had kind of like a top 3 list. I know it's already been mentioned, but Dorina Wong, she definitely had the experience. And also Teresa Fuentes, who I believe worked on, she's an attorney for Pasadena, the city, and advised on the redistricting process for Pasadena. So
Teresa?
Yes. So I think that would she would potentially add a lot of good input to this commission. There was a lot of public comment for Apolino Morales, so maybe I'll add him as a third since there was a lot of public interest. So I definitely would I'd like to consider Apolino Morales.
Yes, Commissioner Vento.
I can't see correctly, but how many people? It looks like we have a lot from District 5 right now. Am I right on that? I can't tell based on the top 12 and the top 3, but is Deanna, Miss Wong, is she from District 5 too?
She's from 3.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Let's
Okay.
make these
Okay.
numbers bigger for you all. In
Because
fact,
that's my only concern, is just overloading a certain district. And I will concur with, I think it's, excuse me if I don't pronounce it, Commissioner Stetzer, is that correct? I'm sorry. Mr. Mendoza, he comes from District 3. And I think if I'm correct, right, how many do we already have from District 3? He is a male.
I'm sorry,
and
Mendoza in top 23.
yeah, he was in the top 23, and I think he comes from District
5.
Oh, he comes from District 5 again. Okay.
Actually, I'm trying to make this bigger, but then you can't see the whole screen.
Right. Okay. So that's still, I mean, I'm just looking at some of our candidates we have. I think it was 1, 2, probably 4 more all people we're considering from District 5 at this point.
Yeah, so I think what we should do is come up with maybe a smaller slate, and then maybe we take a break, and I could do some quick tabulations based on where their demographics are falling out, if that would be of help. But I want to make sure we get what you see as an initial slate. Commissioner Holtzman.
With regard to candidate Dan Woods, I did rank him very highly. I haven't looked at all the Republicans, however. I did want to follow up on Commissioner Stetzer's observation that his zip code is mainly a Santa Monica zip code, 90402. I just called up a map of the zip code, and it does actually extend into Santa Monica Canyon, which is actually part of the city of Los Angeles. So I think we could leave him as Los Angeles, a person from the city of Los Angeles, not Santa Monica.
Commissioner Maeda.
2 comments. One is, although he wasn't not in my top 3, I just note that Christopher Castaneda did have, seemed to have mapping expertise, which I think might be useful from that perspective. And then also a comment on Mr. Morales. I think I had ranked him a little bit lower than some of the others. I did, when I saw that he was rising to, a significant level by others, I went back and take a look at his application. It is possible. I read every one of them, so it's possible that this one might have been one of the last ones. I might have been tired, but I might also admittedly been annoyed that I had to go to a separate sheet rather than each of the, because he answer the questions by attaching a separate sheet. Anyways, I reviewed it, and I think I would have actually rated him a little bit higher. So I would like to consider him as well as a candidate we should look at. We do need to have more Republican candidates at least to consider, I think.
Okay, I'm going to suggest we sort of do a consensus listing, because I'm sort of putting bold in based on people sort of saying this is the reason. Let's start with top 12 and then do these 2 candidates. And let me at least see if we have consensus of which ones are bold. And Holly, is it okay if we just do a show of hands on this, since we're again just trying to come up with the initial profile?
I think anytime we take a vote, it does need to be a roll call, because we're doing this remotely. I mean, if what you're doing is saying you want to shrink this to analyze only the highlighted ones,
yes,
I think that is something you can do with just simple direction based on the comments we've gotten. You don't need to take a vote. And everybody understands that they may decide they want to add to that list, or I certainly think by winnowing it down, we probably get to a spot where we actually can take a vote on some.
So if you all are comfortable in just directing me as your staff person to take the ones highlighted in yellow with the top 12 and the top 23 and give you a quick score sheet. I shouldn't call it a score sheet, but it's really doing this kind of mix over on this side of the page of where we would stand in terms of filling in some of these demographics. I could add the 5 supervisorial districts if you would like. Yes, Commissioner Holtzman.
No, thank you. I am not at all comfortable with making any cuts during this meeting.
I'm not proposing that. I'm just saying, let's look at all the candidates in yellow. We can add more to this list, but I thought it might be helpful for you just to sort of see where you stood. You don't have to do it that way.
Yeah, I don't really want to do it that way. I would prefer now to be able to go in and fill in my review, fill in. I would like to be able to at least see all of the applications and put in evaluations for the ones in, say, the top 23 that I haven't been able to read yet before I start suggesting top applicants. So I'm at this point, I'm not going to suggest anybody to add to the list, and I want to reserve the right to add to a focus list if there is a focus list at some point between now and the next meeting or at the next meeting. I really don't want to start, taking any action that could be interpreted as cutting out others, taking some and cutting out others.
Well, and while you're discussing that, why don't I put them all on the 23 that tended to be the ones that people were most interested in? And I'm going to have to sort of go back and forth to make sure I complete everyone's name. So we have them all on one list. So the next one was Carolyn Williams. I have her. I will add Margaret Mulligan. Please correct me if I miss any. Teresa was one of your discussion points. And to your point, Commissioner Holtzman, we have reserved, maybe do interviews, maybe have a third meeting. I'm just trying to see where we have come together. Maria Slaughter. I think it'll just be easier if you have one list.
Okay, just to be clear, you don't have my, any names for me of those you don't have any names for me yet of those I'm most interested in.
Okay, let me get these all highlighted and then I will have you add yours. And then Jan Woods. Since I'm doing this on a real quick basis, is this a complete list of everybody suggested so far?
Yes, I think it is.
Okay, so Commissioner Holtzman, who should we add?
No, what I'm saying is I'm not comfortable putting forward such names at this meeting.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Soto.
Yes, okay, never mind. I see his name, so it's fine.
Commissioner Stetcher.
And I'm willing to accept the judgments of my fellow commissioners on these candidates where they were read by at least 4 or 5 people. But I don't want to railroad anyone past Commissioner Holtzman if he wants further review. I'd like us to try to keep this during the season to not too many extended meetings, but perhaps we could look at our top batch and meet one more time to come up with a selection of our 6 recommended and 2 or 3 alternate commissioners.
Other commissioner thoughts? Commissioner Holtzman.
I mean, like I've said before, I'm actually comfortable with this going into the first couple of weeks of the new year, especially since, as Commissioner Stetcher just alluded to, we're in the holiday season.
Commissioner Franklin.
Yes, we have until December 31st. Am I correct?
You are correct.
And that's when, next week? So to extend it past December 31st, that would not be advisable at all. So I'm urging my fellow commissioners we have this week. Let's get this done if at all possible, and I'm sure we can, to have our full commission constituted by December 31st.
And allow me to point out, because I have done a survey and this is on our agenda when we discuss the schedule. I had asked you all about availability, and we have tentatively penciled in Saturday, December 26th to either interview candidates or hold a meeting. And then we also have penciled in Monday, December 28th, different times for a third or fourth meeting to pick the final slate. And if you cannot reach consensus by then, it would then be, we have times available on December 29th, Tuesday. And we did that survey because we knew of the legal requirement target of December 31st. And we should probably discuss, given now this list, because this is the first time you're seeing it, I can appreciate obviously the need for more interviews or more review of the applications if you would like. And also consideration, would it help if you interviewed? Obviously 23 will be too many to interview, but are we getting to a point where it may make sense to consider interviews or not? Would that help you in your decision process? Commissioner Stetcher.
Certainly it would help, but I think only marginally. I think our biggest challenge at this point is really trying to be representative. And there, the interviews aren't going to reveal much about that we don't already know about location and gender and party affiliation.
Commissioner Vento, then Commissioner Maeda.
Yeah, everybody, I mean, just working off of a list, and I can respect everybody wanting to do due diligence. But if we just look at just District 4 alone, there's only 3 people in the top 23 from District 4 alone right now. Apolina Morales and Maria Williams Slaughter. And then obviously there's Mary Kennedy. So, I mean, we only have 3 people from that one district. So what I'm just trying to say is, I kind of agree with Commissioner Stetchner. I think if we could make some decision, or not make a decision today, but I think we could agree on that there are certain people that we could, support for certain districts.
Okay, if this would help, Commissioner Vento, I've done a sort by district. Other comments, commissioners? Commissioner Maeda, you are correct. You're up next. I apologize.
I tend to agree that although more information potentially is helpful, I think we know what we need to do, which is put together the jigsaw puzzle, or to use it, your analogy, the symphony. Where do we need different instruments, and that I don't think is going to change based on interviews.
Let's ask the question then on interviews. Maybe we can put that question to rest. Do I have a motion to either not do or to do interviews? I hear there seems to be some comments that there is no need to do interviews. Commissioner Maeda, are you interested in making that motion?
Sure. I mean, I would want to know if there's anybody who really, would want to do them. And can articulate what they hope to get out of that.
I think procedurally, Commissioner Maeda, if you make that motion and get a second, then that provides the opportunity for discussion before the vote.
I'll make that motion. I move that we do not go to an interview, but instead grapple with the candidates that we are grappling with based on paper.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Now for discussion.
So is there anybody that wants to have an interview process?
I agree with what everybody's saying. I think that if we come down to people that we're iffy about or questionable about, then I think maybe an interview might be necessary. But I don't know if we need to actually do an interview.
Commissioner Franklin, I just want to make sure that people on the phone know.
Yeah. The only reason I would consider doing interviews, and I believe that would have to do with the alternates, and seeing if anyone of these candidates would consider being an alternate. And then if so, understanding that they would have to attend, well, this would be in the bylaws, but we can't do the bylaws until all 14 are seated. But that would have been something that I would want to ask as far as the alternates and being able to attend all of the meetings. So that's the only consideration, and being able to attend all of the meetings if they are chosen as a commissioner to attend, if they're available to attend all of the meetings. Is there something work-wise or otherwise that would keep them or hinder them or him or her from attending all of the meetings throughout the year? So that would be my only question that I would like to ask them.
So I will defer that to Holly to comment on the alternates. And I think right now, we're sort of discussing if you need to do interviews. And what I understand you're also asking is maybe you don't interview for the 6, but maybe after the 14 are formed, you might want to have a more formal process for deciding if they're alternates and interviewing the alternates. Is that what I'm hearing you propose, Commissioner Franklin?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Holly, do you want to add to that?
I was just going to say that one of the options, staff, upon direction from the commission, staff could reach out to anyone that's identified as an alternate and ask them that question and then respond back. So it doesn't take the commissioner's time to do an interview, but staff can, upon direction, kind of do that vetting for you and respond back
that would be
when that
wonderful.
time comes.
Yes, that would work. Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to the question of, do you want to do interviews or not? We have a motion on the table. I see Commissioner Venter's hand is up.
I just had a question, and I don't know if this is for Holly or whoever. Are we going to be able to, this commission, be able to pick the 6 permanent and the alternates, or do we have to wait to pick the 6, then we have to pick the alternates? I'm just kind of in terms of the process there.
Sure, you pick the 6. The 8 now pick the 6, certainly. We're just suggesting for expediency that you may want to identify potential alternates, a pool of potential alternates that the fully constituted commission will then either ratify or agree or expand upon, or ultimately decide maybe they don't want alternates. But you'll kind of present a pre-vetted group. And to be fair, the commission will not be bound, the full commission will not be bound to stay to your pre-vetted group, although my sense is that they would appreciate comments from those that have gone through this process and would probably give a significant weight to them.
Any other comments? So we have a motion on the floor to not conduct interviews for the selection of the 6 applicants. We have from Commissioner Maeda, we have it seconded by Commissioner Soto. Twyla, I believe we should take roll call.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Franklin, how do you vote?
No, we don't do interviews. No interviews.
Okay, so you're in favor.
So that would be a yes.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Holtzman.
You have to unmute yourself, Commissioner Holtzman, so that the people on the phone can hear
Yeah,
you.
oh, sorry, yes, I'm voting yes, and I'm putting my thumb up too.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Maeda?
Vote yes on my own motion.
No, okay, sorry. Commissioner Obregon? I don't see him. Okay, Commissioner Segura?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Stetcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Soto?
Yes.
Commissioner Vento?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so no interviews. So let's talk about how we want to proceed next. I am watching the time because depending upon what you want to do next, we may want to look at another little rest break. I might suggest, now that you've made a shorter list, that you go back and revisit these applications, and to Commissioner Holtzman's consideration, consider some others. You've seen the demographics. Prior to our next meeting, I could update where you stand on these demographics, although the 23 still pretty much stand there, but I can let you know if you were to focus on these. And we could aim for the next meeting to come to a conclusion on the 6 commissioners. And then if there are any other promising candidates, have them go into the alternates. So again, this is still staff work, but does that sound like a plan? I see heads nodding. Holly, do we need to do a roll call on this, or this can, oh, Commissioner Soto, a question.
Yes, I'd also like to see if it's possible to include a map that shows all the zip codes. So for the existing 8 commissioners plus all the alternates that we are considering, or the additional candidates, just for visual. With the districts, it's a little bit hard because they're just so large. So it might be a little bit difficult to review, but with the zip codes, there are like over 300 zip codes in the county as well, but they might not show up as well. Some are a little bit more dense than others, but at least they might help us kind of see if we are also meeting that geographical, trying to get a geographical diverse selection of applicants.
So a picture's always better, isn't it?
Yes.
So I am going to ask Ty, is that something you think you could pull together before our next meeting?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, there you go. Commissioner Stetcher.
Yes, and could you clarify, Commissioner Soto, whether you want to see the 8 of us and the 11 that we've identified, or the 8 of us and all 23?
The 8 of us, and if it's 11, or maybe Commissioner Holtzman might add an additional, whatever the final list of that we'll be reviewing.
So let me propose this. Let's color code so that the 8 commissioners would be maybe black bubbles, little black dots. The ones highlighted in yellow might be a different color, and then the remaining on this 23 would be a third color.
Sure.
Any other guidance? Or
Great idea, Gayla. Great idea.
Okay, so I think where we're leaving this in terms of staff guidance is you will do more, there will be no interviews. I will send out this updated spreadsheet to you all with the list as it is. You will review the application some more. You'll look at the demographics. You'll have your own thoughtful input you want for our next meeting. And we will create a GIS map with pinpoints showing you where everyone is. I see Brian Stetcher's hand up.
Yes, would you update the right-hand side where you're tallying what the commission would look like?
Absolutely.
To include the 11?
To include
the highlighted.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we can see where we may have to look at some adjustments. And I will add the supervisorial district item because of Commissioner Vento's concern in that area. I had not included this time because we met the minimum requirement of 1 per supervisorial district. But if you recall at our first meeting, I had pointed out that there are 5 districts and 14 commissioners. So if you were to just mathematically do it 4 4 districts would get 3, 1 district would get 2. Probably for safety, if someone were to have to drop out, we'd want to have probably 2 to be safe, or an alternate. Okay. Are we okay now on covering these items? Okay, so what I am going to do is stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint in terms of our agenda. And it's not opening up. Give me 1 second. Okay. Can you all see the screen? Okay, so moving along. We have decided to consider alternates. We have begun to shorten the list. We've decided on the homework. We've decided there will be no interviews. And now we have to talk about target meeting dates for your final selection. And that moves us to the schedule. I had prepared, based on your calendars that you had provided to me, that option 1 would have considered interviews. That is no longer an option. Option 2 is no interviews, and either meet on Saturday, December 26th at 10 a.m. or on Monday, December 28th at 10 a.m. No more than 7 of you are available for both dates, and Commissioner Segura, though, could not join us till 11 o'clock on Monday. So given that, yes, Commissioner Holtzman.
My preference, well, first of all, I would say that we should publicly notice all those times in case we need them. Do that now. And then my second suggestion would be just choose the first time we're all available for our next meeting. Or most of us are available, so the Saturday.
Other comments, other observations?
I actually concur. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I see Commissioner Maeda's hand, and I see Commissioner Venter's hand. Commissioner Maeda first.
So I am the commissioner who said I was not available on Saturday morning. I will make myself available, but it definitely cannot go any longer than noon. And my preference would be to cut it off earlier than that. I'm going to go out of town, so that's my comment.
Commissioner Bento.
I was just going to concur with Commissioner Holtzman on his suggestions. And
Okay, Commissioner Orpanella Segura, your hand is raised.
Thank you. If possible, Saturday would be great if we're all available.
Okay, based on the comments, I would like to propose we proceed with Saturday, December 26th. I realize it's a day after most people's holiday, but I think that gives us the safety zone. If we do not make a final decision, we still have Monday and Tuesday available. And I can certainly have us put into the minutes that those would be fallback dates. Does this require a roll call?
Let me jump in here and say, yes, we should have a roll call vote on setting this date. I want to pick up on a suggestion Commissioner Holtzman made, is to go ahead and schedule and publicly notice Monday at 10 a.m. so that we have that on the books with the public if we need it. If we conclude the selection on Saturday, we can cancel that meeting. But if we wait to notice it Saturday, the notice effectively would be going out Saturday afternoon for Monday at 10. And I think just as a courtesy, it's easier to get it on the books now and cancel it rather than add it at the last minute.
And actually, Holly, I had understood that all the dates, so including the Tuesday times, we might put there as potential public in the event that a decision's not made on Monday, the 28th either.
I think that's fine. And so I would suggest that the motion be to add those 3 dates.
Yeah. So do I have a commissioner who would like to make the motion? Commissioner Stetcher.
I'm not sure which times on each of the dates we're talking about. Are we only talking about the morning time, or are we talking about the afternoon and evenings, which I was also holding?
So I surveyed everyone, and what you see is where I could get at least 7, I could get 7 of you there. And now Commissioner Maeda has said he would make himself available on Saturday the 26th, so we could have all 8 of you. So essentially, what's being considered is meet next Saturday, or meet Saturday the 26th at 10 a.m., hold and reserve Monday, December 28th at 10 a.m., Tuesday, December 29th at 2 p.m., and Tuesday, December 29th at 7 p.m. in the event you need extra meetings.
I so move.
Well, I didn't make a motion. I'm not a commissioner. So
Well,
does that?
I move that we set aside the following 4 dates and times for the next commission meetings to make the final selection of candidates as necessary. Saturday, December 26th at 10 a.m., Monday, December 28th at 10 a.m., Tuesday, December 29th at 2 p.m. and at 7 p.m.
Is there a second?
I second.
Well, I will second it, but could I make a comment? Can we just meet on 2 p.m. on Tuesday instead of having 2 meetings on Tuesday the 29th?
So the intent would not to be to meet twice, but those were 2 dates and times that seemed to be the best. So what we probably would do is hold the dates for the public so they know it could be either one. If you do not reach a conclusion on Monday the 28th, we could then determine should you meet the next day at 2 or at 7. And I'm in agreement with you. I hope you can reach a decision without having to go into an evening meeting, but we'll see. Were there other questions? I sort of saw 2nd and 3rds and 4th. So I saw Commissioner Holtzman's hand up and Commissioner Franklin's hand up. Are either one of you suggesting to second, or you have a question?
No, I was seconding.
Okay, and I see Commissioner Holtzman also has raised his fingers, 2 fingers up for a second motion to reinforce Commissioner Franklin's second motion. So Twyla, can I ask you to take a roll call?
Of course. Commissioner Franklin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Holtzman?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Maeda?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Arbogast?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Segarra?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Stetcher?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Soto?
Yes.
And Commissioner Vento?
Yes.
Motion unanimously carries.
Okay, so I will send out, we will make these meeting dates publicly available for the public. All those attending now know them as well. And we will plan for meeting again on Saturday, December 26th, 10 a.m. We will do more analysis on your 11 candidates based on the demographics. You too will be looking at those applications so that we can come back together. Okay. I have a couple more things just on the schedule. Again, I want you all to keep in mind how the year rhythm will go. In January, there will be all 14 commissioners, the oath of office, orientation, developing your bylaws, assigning a chair and vice chair, Brown Act training, media training, many other things. I will also be working with you in terms of identifying subject matter experts, demographers, and others that will help guide us through this process. February, we will be submitting to you a public access plan for outreach. In the spring, probably March, April, May, we will hold 7 public hearings. In the summer, we are hoping we'll have the census data so that we can have the redistricting map software available for the public to begin to develop maps. You as commissioners do not develop the official maps for consideration or options till after the spring 7 public hearings. Come fall, once you do have some options, there will be 2 more public hearings where your options would be shared for further comment and input. Our target date, we cannot miss this date, is December 15th to have the final redistricting maps in place. Okay. The other thing you'll be developing in January, I have already started a tentative, more detailed calendar for the year because I do want you to establish routine meeting dates, but we will not be able to do that till we have all 14 commissioners on board. And you'll just see there's a list of other kinds of training that has to happen in January. I apologize, the YouTube did not work this time. We had tested it on Saturday, it worked. We are going to try to broadcast these meetings live through YouTube. We will try the technical experiment on Saturday. I am now working on developing the content for the website. There is a design and we are planning to have that go live in January as well once you are officially in place. I have also been talking to the county. We very much want you to have unique Gmail addresses as commissioners and as CRC staff so that all communications will be separate from any personal emails that you may have, again, when you're officially constituted in January. We now move to agenda item 3. I don't know if you need a rest. I don't know how many public comments there might be at this juncture. We will do 1 minute per person. If there are written comments that are submitted, Ty, we will ask Twyla to announce when 1 minute of reading it is up. Can I ask you, Ty, how many people may want to speak that may determine if we need to take a break or we can expeditiously conclude the meeting?
So currently there are no hands from attendees, but we have 6 comments and questions.
So that might be 6 minutes or so. Commissioners, do you want to persevere through or do you need to stretch your legs? People say keep it rolling. So Ty,
go through.
Okay,
continue.
so Ty, go through the 6.
Okay, sounds good. So the first comment is from an anonymous attendee. I would like to request that the commissioners weigh in on the duration allowed for public comment and consider expanding it to 2 or 3 minutes. Redistricting is a complicated topic and sometimes 1 minute is just not sufficient. Additional comments. Next one is from Nancy Diaz. It appears that comments/questions from public are not being considered fully with all 52 remaining candidates, only the top 12. From Nancy Diaz, I appreciate the consideration as a candidate, although I don't know where I ranked. But thank you for providing the opportunity to make recommendations, comments, and reconsiderations to review all candidates to include public engagement. I am confident you will make the right decision to be equitable and inclusive of all our representation across LA County. Thank you for your work and have a great holiday. One last comment, not all written apps provide full scope, especially for those who did not provide more data than what was expected. I was short, not lengthy as most, and I can bring great value. Have a great day. The next comment is from Rosalinda Lugo. Can an alternate view the recording of the meeting versus having to attend the meeting in person? And the last comment is from Frank C. Suggestion: in Zoom, the commissioners' names are mostly chopped off, especially in presentation mode. We only see commissioner ... and not the names. I'd like to suggest that the commissioner use abbreviation for commissioners, such as CMSR, in future meetings. Thank you. And that is all the comments.
Okay. Are there matters not posted that any of the commissioners would like to bring to place for future agendas? I do not see anyone's hands. I see thumbs up to move on. We are adjourned.
All right. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Thank
See you on
you.
the
Thank you very
26th.
much. Same to you.
Okay.
Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas, one and all.
See
Thank
you on
you.
Saturday.
Yes.